All right, just a couple of quick notes before we get started here today. Bullying and harassment will not be tolerated on this channel. Don't bully or harass anybody mentioned in the video, and don't bully or harass anybody in the chat or the comments. Those are all really quick ways to get yourself banned. Also, today we're going to be talking about Mormonism. I am not an expert on Mormonism. I have never been a Mormon. I am just a person with an opinion. And as such, thoughts, feelings, and opinions expressed on this channel are solely my own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. They're not facts. We're just having fun. Also, quick note for Jimmy's guys, so I don't have to deal with it later. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act in 1976, allowances made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might be otherwise infringing. And with that out of the way, hello, lovely people of the internets. 'Tis I, Ophelia Hartwig, aka Savage Minnow, aka Still Red Person for 1 week. If you want to get the Red Person merch. But yeah, I'm not going to do like a whole lot of announcements today because we're doing like a whole week of retro Jimmy reaction videos. I gotta figure out a better way to word that. But we're like reacting to Jimmy reacting to stuff like years ago. It sounds like there's some people having internet issues. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hello, hello, hello. One quick announcement. Gamer Mom Cooking, some of you guys actually noticed that like we ended up having to miss last week, which is wild. I guess I'm like a big enough YouTuber now where I have to like explain that like, hey, we had to miss. Sorry about that. This week we're rescheduling. We're not missing this week. We're rescheduling to Saturday. So, Gamer Mom Cooking, where me and my mom sit around in aprons and mostly just react to Reddit and maybe do some cooking. I think we're going to make like press sandwiches and like a little sandwich press this week. But it's mostly just me and my mom. And really when I say that, it's mostly just my mom being hilarious and me just like sitting there spurring her on. So if you guys want to come watch, oh, thank you. I think my mom is adorable. So if you guys do want to come by and say hi on Saturday, I'm sure that she would love to see people coming and saying hi because she's always like, she doesn't think that people like her, but I think that she's adorable. So, yeah, we're going to do sandwiches and my mom doesn't actually understand what Reddit is, but I read her posts off of r/am I the asshole, and she gives her mom opinion, which is usually, I feel like she gives a pretty good opinion. I don't know. Maybe because I grew up with my mom as kind of like my moral compass, but I like my mom. My mom's pretty cool. So today I decided to do the video that Jimmy suggested that we do, which is his 29 questions video. And for some reason, it's like not showing it now. I just checked it a minute ago. That's okay. Let me check it again. Thank you for the follow, Elsa Bear. No, not that one. Here, it's this one. Okay. It showed up after I did that. But that's good. We got it. All right. So I did try to watch it this morning. And usually when I do that, it'll like run through most of the ads and I don't have too much of an issue with it. But if there are issues, I'll stop. I'll pause the feed while I skip through his video or skip through the ad on his video. All right. Let me know if there's any sound issues.
be expecting my final video of welcome back to Dear Mr. Atheist, and I know you might be expecting my final video of the modern timeline of LDS and the LGBT community. That video is still coming, but I actually wanted to jump in this, one, to break up the monotony a little bit, but two, because there has been this situation with the cat.
Now, full disclosure, I think I was maybe a viewer of Jimmy's at this point in time, but I don't think I've seen this video. If I have, I don't remember it like at all.
Catholic Church,
at least not at this point,
specifically in Pennsylvania, uncovering lots and lots of abuse. Now, we're not going to talk about Catholicism today. We're still sticking with Mormonism because this is Mormon month. You can look forward to a video in September that will dive into that, but
it's
right
Jimmy
now we're
week
still
on my
sticking with
channel.
Mormonism. Now, if you don't already know, I grew up in the Mormon Church, and the Catholic Church.
By the way, if you missed on my previous video, this is all leading up to actually a series of videos that's going to be about like the rise and fall of the Non Sequitur show, how Jimmy ties into that, the ACA, and just like my goal is to like line up the assholes and then tell you guys about them, okay? And how they all connect.
Churches had these scandals before, and every time they did, the Mormon Church had something of a chip on their shoulder about, well, you don't really see these sorts of things and these kinds of abuses in Mormonism. So today we're going to talk about something that's rather explicit.
I feel like you do kind of see them everywhere, though. Like, yes, there was stuff that got uncovered with the Catholic Church that was like, but I think just because like the Catholic Church is so large, that's why they uncovered so much of it. I think that it probably exists everywhere, and pretty much every religion, every organization. Every like large organization, I feel like there's like some people in them that are shitholes, like that are assholes. So
now,
I don't know.
We actually won't be talking about any sort of physical abuse. That is another topic we will cover later, and the Mormon Church has their share. Instead, today we're going to be...
That's good. That's good that we are not actually talking about any of that today, because I need to do trigger warning slides at the beginning.
Talking about the interaction between adult male leaders and children, 12 to 18 years old.
Are they always adult male leaders? This sounds like something that like might be really, really extra inappropriate for like the young girls. Oof.
The LDS Church. And yes, I'm still going to be calling it the LDS Church, despite the fact that in the last week or so, the church has put out a statement saying that they'd like to be referred to as either the Church or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and not LDS or Mormon anymore.
I knew about the Mormon thing, but like I actually was like kind of like friends sort of talking to this person who was an LDS member at the time, and he referred to himself as a member of the LDS Church or an LDS. He would literally say, yeah, I'm LDS.
I know, I'm such a rebel. Maybe this will be the point they finally excommunicate me on. Who knows? One last thing.
They're always adult dudes. Creepy.
Before we dive in deeply, today my collab with Prophet of Zod should release. It was all about Jesus in America, so if you've ever wondered about that story and why Mormons believe Jesus came to America, go head over to Zod's channel. I'll put an info card up now. If it's not up now, go ahead and subscribe and hit their bell, and you should be able to see once it shows up. And for sure, I'll link all of that in the description below as well. So let me set this.
I don't think I'm going to be able to get into like Zod in all the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, just because like already I think I have like 4 or 5 videos planned, and while like there is like a fringe attachment to Zod, I don't think that we're actually going to be talking about him. Not that Zod is one of the assholes, just like sometimes they connect to other people that aren't assholes. I don't know Zod that well. I've seen a few of his videos, but I don't know. I don't think anybody knows him, right? He's just the
stage a little bit here. Mormons have a thing called worthiness interviews. Now, a worthiness interview is when you go and you sit with your bishop or perhaps one of his counselors. Sometimes it's a stake president or one of his counselors. These are male leadership. And they make sure that you are worthy to do things like enter the temple, get a calling, be ordained to another level of the priesthood, and they make sure that you are following all of God's laws. One of these laws is the law of chastity, and this has to do with sexuality, what you're doing with your body, and whether you're doing the things you're allowed to do with your body.
So like the types of things that like adult men, especially ones who are not like a direct relative of these young people, should not be asking, particularly not young girls. Ooh.
Now, as we go through these questions, I want to start off by saying I actually didn't get the worst of this growing up. My father was always an important part of the leadership of the church.
So he just got asked by his dad.
I kind of counted on him to keep track of me. So while some of these questions are ones that I typically saw, I didn't get all of them. Now, where did these questions come from? There's an actual website called protectldschildren.org that is ran by a guy called Sam Young. Sam is formerly a bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church.
Oh, you clever rebel, you.
And for the record, Sam, if this gets in front of you, you are more than welcome on my channel. I do cover a lot of atheist stuff. In my time researching Sam so far,
I don't think Sam ever did come on his channel, but I'm not sure about that. Let me know if you guys remember.
I haven't really gotten the impression that he's made it out of Mormonism completely. It seems to me that he still has.
Also, this woman that was behind his shoulder, that I think, did he draw this woman and like the little hand that's in the corner? Because I remember the whole time that he had this set being like her like jaw perspective and the hand perspective is off, but I couldn't tell if it's actually his work or if it's somebody else's work that's like, because it's a very classic style. And I remember like it being so distracting the whole time that he had this set because my brain was just like trying to like figure it out.
Some God belief in that there's
a
lot there that's still important to him.
That's very random.
He is yet to be excommunicated, though I suspect it will eventually happen. That is if he doesn't resign first. But if you wanted to come on and discuss this, you're more than welcome. Anyway, Sam himself has daughters. Back in 2017, he found out that his daughters were routinely being asked very sexually explicit questions in these worthiness interviews. So he
like, wow. I feel like that's interesting that he just then figured it out.
Began compiling these other stories, creating a petition for policy change, and specifically creates this list of 29 questions that are commonly asked of Mormon youth, 12 to 17 years old. I think I said 12 to 18, but 12 to 17 years old. And he publishes these.
Okay, so I thought that they were like 29 set questions that they ask, but it's just like worthiness interviews, and he feels like these 29 questions were inappropriate. Okay.
Questions requesting that the church give a rebuke of any one of them, to condemn any one of them. This has led to something of a movement in the church of people hoping for a 2-adult policy. Basically, the concept would be from now on with your worthiness interview, it's not just you and one adult, it would be you and 2 adults, and it can be a parent.
I think it should be you and the parent that you choose, and to the best that you can, an adult of the same gender.
Parent or whatever else. The Mormon Church has budged a little bit on this. They have said, yes, you may request a second adult or a parent if you are a child or a woman. That said, it is on request. And because I know what the nature of being inside the church is like, the cultural nature of it, you're not going to have a lot of people actually request that, because that will be communicating some level of distrust to this bishop that has asked for this interview. It just isn't going to happen as much as it needs to. But to tell you the truth, I actually don't think the 2-adult policy is near the ideal thing. I would actually...
Yeah. I mean, 2 adults is like a step in the right direction, but also like it shouldn't be something that's asked for. It should be like, okay, which one of your parents do you want? And like, what gender adult would you like to be there? Especially if they're going to be asking like those types of questions, the like purity questions.
Actually say that these
also, like, you shouldn't have to do the stupid thing. Like that just seems stupid. Like it should be like what's the if you've ever given blood at the Red Cross, there's like this sheet that they give you at the end where it's like if you answered any of the questions during the questionnaire, like false, basically, because sometimes like they'll go and like give blood in a work environment or whatever. And especially back when like you weren't allowed to give blood if you'd had butt sex with a dude. There were like people who'd be like, no, I've never had butt sex with a dude, take my blood. But then you could say, you could put this barcode on it, and the barcode would let them know that like you had answered some of the questions incorrectly and your blood wasn't actually worthy. And you could do something like that where it was like a voluntary thing. Like, are you worthy of entering the temple according to like these rules that like we're going to set up or whatever? Yeah, if you had sex with a dude who is in some gay shit, that's yeah. That's right. I think you're right. Oh yeah, I have to hit allow on that because you said the sex word. Um, yeah, it was like if you'd had sex with a dude who'd had sex with a dude, I think was like the rule. I don't know. It was stupid. Me and my friends always just lied about it because like we knew the statistics and now you don't even have to lie about it. So yay! Red Cross made one step in the right direction. All right. Back to Jimmy.
Worthiness interviews just need to stop until an
Okay.
older age, maybe 16, maybe 18. So now the stage is set. We'll start reading these questions. But again, just know that all
I agree with them.
information
It's
you're
stupid.
getting today, while I've put some research into it, this actual collection comes from that great work Sam Young does, and we'll be covering more of those stories and what this organization does at a later date. For the sake of time, we're just going to go through these questions today. As I read these, I want you to visualize this situation. A 12 to 17-year-old boy or girl, literally junior high to
I'm just going to like imagine myself at 12 to 17, which I did identify as a girl back then, but like I'm one of those weird like non-binary people who like I did like kind of come out to my mom at one point, but like my family was just like yeah. Kind of figured. So, I mean, I'm lucky like that. But yeah, I think for a lot of people they have to like get put in those gender boxes and like they feel like they have to fit in. I think my mom made the comment one time that somebody was saying something about like, people try to fit inside the box or whatever. And she was like, yeah, I don't think Red even like sees that there is a box. And I'm like, because I'm standing there going, what box? All right, back to Jimmy. These 29 questions. That are like probably weird questions to be asking kids. Let's find out.
to high school age, sitting across from a man, usually from the age of about 30 to 35
Or
to,
visualizing.
I mean, upwards 60 to 80. There have definitely been some very old bishops and state presidents. And these adult men are looking them in the eyes and asking them these questions. And we'll read all 29 in sequence. Obviously, I'm going to
Okay.
drop some commentary in there. Question number
Also, these like older videos of Jimmy, I do have, I think it's like a 30-inch monitor on my computer, and it's not like a super deep desk. So when he has like these old videos where he's like super middle of the frame, like fills up the entire frame, it does feel like we're just like sitting across the table from each other, like staring into each other's eyes. It's a little creepy.
Number 1, do you masturbate? This is amongst the mildest of the questions so far. This is one of the ones I definitely was asked. This is also one of the ones that I definitely lied in response to.
You're supposed to say no, right? See, like this is again, I was kind of like raised with like more of a, I guess you could call it a liberal upbringing, but my mom was like not anti, like I wouldn't say she was like pro or anti masturbation, but it was like, well, at least you're not having unprotected sex. Like you're not going to get pregnant or get STDs having sex with yourself. So
As do pretty much everyone who says they don't after about 15, 16. The next one, do you know what a vagina is? Now,
do they ask this to girls too, or just to guys?
while I never got this question, and all of these questions are sort of the average common theme of questions that are consistent, I didn't actually get this one in my youth. I did get one similar as they were sort of interviewing me and deciding if I would go on a
What did they
mission or
ask you,
not.
Jimmy?
And there was definitely some probing to see what level of sexual knowledge I already have.
But what did they ask you, Jimmy? What did they ask you?
That said, again, because my father was at least locally prominent, whatever answer I gave, there was little follow-up to. I was one of the lucky ones. The next one, what were you thinking of while you masturbated? This is going to be a huge topic we're going to cover later because Mormons do believe in the idea of basically thought crime, that you can be condemned and that you can sin in your mind alone, that you have to also control your thoughts. The only places that give you reprieve.
Wait, if you answered no to the first question, you don't have to answer this one, right? What? Like, I don't think y'all want to know the answer to those questions. Like, you're asking teenagers, like,
Is they acknowledge that you have
I don't want to know.
control over your dreams, so whatever you dream is not a sin. Next question, when was the last time you watched pornography? What type of pornography do you watch?
Never.
Do you masturbate while you watch pornography? So all of these questions so far are sort of bundled up together. They're discovery questions, not to just find out if you have committed this sin, but the very specific.
Also, the thought of like an adult man asking me these questions as like a young teenager is so weird. It's so weird.
Of it. But again, remember, these are the questions being asked of 12-year-old girls and 12-year-old boys. Frankly, I'm not sure I think it's ever appropriate for a 40-year-old man alone in a room with a 12-year-old girl or a 13 or a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girl to look across at this young girl and say, do you masturbate? And now we'll actually
see, I think that like we should be like actually teaching kids about like sex ed at that age, like actual in-depth sex ed, not just like abstinence only education, but like we don't need to like talk about like what they're like specifically like the subjects that like they're thinking about when masturbating. Like, I mean, I don't think that it's like wrong to like explain to kids like what masturbation is. But it like this just seems like such a like weird, uncomfortable setting. It just sounds like his face right now is like totally like the feeling that this whole thing is giving me. Oh yay! Sabatania's got their internet turned on. Yay yay! Yeah, I also miss this Jimmy. But you know what? Here's the thing about this Jimmy is like, yes, I miss this Jimmy, but I still see every once in a while little specks of the other Jimmy poking through. I think they're all the same Jimmy.
get into some of those more female specific questions. Where and how did your boyfriend touch you? Were your nipples hard? Did you get wet? Where were his fingers?
Ooh, I gotta put this on like speed and a half because it's making me really uncomfortable. Sorry.
What color were your panties? And I know this one is going to stick out as, well, that one is clearly just a bad egg. However, that kind of thing actually comes up more than you realize.
No, I actually get that one because, okay, again, I grew up in like a conservative area and like, we still had like gym class where we had like change for gym class. And I do remember it being like a thing where it was like, I wanted like kind of cute underwear, right? To like not be wearing granny panties when I was like changing for gym class. And even in like the liberal upbringing that I had, like my mom was like really like kind of conservative about like what type of underwear I could use. And I remember like that I had to like go shopping with my nana to get like underwear. And I can't remember if it was like I like convinced her that they were like so that it didn't show underwear lines and dress pants or something like that. I don't remember, but I remember that it was like literally just so that like I wasn't embarrassed by wearing granny panties in the locker room. And it wasn't like anything sexual, but like my mom like thought that it was like a sexual thing. Thank you for the follow. Calf Endless? I probably mispronounced that. I suck at all names. It's normal to ask questions about the topic, but if the kid doesn't want to get into the specifics, don't go like any further, you know, unless the kid wants to. That, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. If you're like putting that kid in an uncomfortable situation, like move on. It should, at that point, like you're causing trauma to the kid. If they're like obviously not wanting to talk about it. Ugh. Especially like, I just feel really bad for like any kids that aren't little boys, particularly. Not that I don't feel bad for like the little boys also, but like anybody that isn't like a cis boy. Um, I feel like there's like an extra level of uncomfortableness with this because they're grown men asking you these things.
Now, Sam has seen hundreds, if not thousands, of these questions, and he chose to include this one. I think perhaps I might have summarized more like what kind of panties were you wearing, because this is a discussion I've heard reported to myself, and you can find it in these.
Yeah. That was the other thing, was like I literally just wanted like string bikini type underwear. Like I just wanted like not granny panties. And that was like my mom like thought it was like a sexual thing.
Stories as well, where they are asking about if children are wearing thongs, G-strings, things that they are saying are explicitly sexual to make it look, to arouse.
Which also you can just like wear a thong like to avoid getting panty lines. Like there are like actual reasons why people like wear thongs that aren't like sexy reasons too. Like
a guy, and they are asking about what they are actually wearing for underwear. The stories I've heard also include, were you wearing a push-up bra, cleavage, that sort of thing, but we're just going to keep continuing. Now, this question I've seen asked of both the boys and girls, but we're still sort of in that girl realm here. Did you or...
I have triple Ds. I had at least double Ds by the time I graduated high school. And there, like, if I wear a bra, there's like no way to like not have cleavage. So like, I remember just because I didn't like it as a kid, like wearing like a regular bra and then like a sports bra over top of it just to like strap them down. But like, that was like my choice as far as like, I didn't particularly like to have my chest showing. That was my fashion. As you can see, I'm still kind of like that. Only I go more for like the no bra route now. But like for people who have a chest and like they want to wear a bra that it's comfortable for them to like wear a push-up bra or to like wherever, you know, have them in a place in their shirt that they feel comfortable with, like that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with sexuality. It's just your personal style. I shouldn't do that. I get migraines this week, so I really should not hit myself in the head. I'm going to give myself a migraine.
Orgasm. This next question is also going to extreme, but it actually does do a well job of summarizing the kinds of slut shaming the church does to young women. Did you know that once a boy reaches a certain level of arousal, they have no choice but to keep going? That they can...
I have heard this theory before, that it's like basically justifying sexual assault. We're not going to say the word here, but it's just I thought we weren't going to get into like physical shit today, Jimmy.
Can no longer control their sexual advances. Historically, we already know this exists. This is that sort of, well,
I'm going to put it back to regular speed. This is a little bit too fast.
Kind of bullshit things, taking the responsibility from these men who often have this
victim blaming
alpha mentality and want to prove how powerful they are, and yet once you get a little blood flow going, they no longer have control of their actions. And really, what was your responsibility in this situation? And now we switch more to...
That's like the women who are like, oh, I wear like a full face of makeup to like please my husband. And like if your husband cheats on you and you don't wear full face of makeup, that's your fault. Like it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like, and if it wasn't clear by my saying that, all of that shit is fucking ridiculous.
The questions geared toward boys or boys and girls. Have you ever put your penis in another boy's anus? And if so, did you like it? Describe the sexual positions you engaged in. Did you...
It's like so specific. Like we can't just be like, have you ever had butt sex with a dude? Oh, but they want to know. Like this is the thing that's weird to me. It's like they want to know if you were giving. Do they want to know if you were receiving? I'm sorry. I have to laugh because it's uncomfortable, and because like if I don't laugh, I'll just melt into a puddle on the floor, and I'll just be, just red goo. So it's more fun just to laugh.
Did you engage in oral sex? Did you ejaculate? Or how many times did he ejaculate?
Oh my. But wait, they're specifically talking about oral sex for men, right? They're not even like addressing that like women can receive oral sex. Also, I'm wondering, some of this sounds like the bishops are just like sitting there taking notes and like, oh, okay, and where was his leg? Like diagram. Yeah, these are like such weird questions to be asking kids. Keep in mind, these are kids. These are kids, but this is like before they have graduated from high school. Yes, I agree with the chat. Oral is moral. If your partner enjoys receiving oral, then it is moral to perform it. Because not everybody likes it, you know. I don't want to put everybody in a box altogether. Because Lord knows, universe knows, science knows. It's a spectrum. All right, back to you, Jimmy.
Did you engage in anal sex? Did the boy ejaculate in your mouth? Did you put your mouth?
I'm thinking that these are different lines of questioning. They're not like talking about, because also I'm like imagining this all as like one act in my head, but I think that it's like, okay.
Mouth on her vagina, or did you use your fingers? Did he touch your breasts? Did you touch his penis? Did he penetrate you? Now these next few questions.
Did you touch each other's sexy places? See, I feel like that is more of an appropriate question to like ask a kid. Like, where did you touch each other? Right? Like, especially for like the younger kids, if they're like wanting to know, like, hey, is it time that we need to like have this discussion about, you know, protection and stuff like that or not? Like, I think that like asking the question, where did you touch each other? I'm going to give them an okay on that one. What base did you get to? Is the question in the chat. Yeah, I feel like if you have the clearly defined bases, then yes, then you could absolutely just like leave it at like, what base did you get to? Absolutely. I feel like in a lot of instances when I was growing up, like the bases were not clearly defined, so that maybe would not have worked for like me and my personal group of friends. But yeah, if you as a guardian know that there are clearly defined bases that your kids adhere to, then like, yeah, that type of question I feel like is okay. Because again, you want to like give them a proper education. You want to know like what knowledge do they have and what knowledge do they need, and not necessarily like never discuss the situation. But some of these questions are like, nobody ever needs to know that about somebody unless you're like their partner. The person in the video, this is Jimmy, who is an ex-Mormon, talking about questions that Mormon kids were asked in these like purity interviews as a kid. So he wasn't necessarily asked these, but these are a list that was actually compiled by another Mormon from just his daughter's friends and stuff, and his two daughters, and I believe they're friends. But this is apparently like an interview thing that happens for young Mormon kids before they graduate from high school. So like middle school, high school age. Which sounds creepy as hell to have a dude asking me all these things.
May leave you the most.
Even two dudes, even like if they enact the policy of like, oh, well, you could have two people there. Like, no, it's so creepy. Sorry, backing up for context.
Or did you use your fingers? Did he touch your breasts? Did you touch his penis?
That was a weird place to go back to.
Now, these next few questions may leave you the most angry.
Okay. Like, let's get serious face for this one, because like like I said, those last ones were kind of silly, but
is these next few questions are geared specifically toward rape victims. And again, this isn't just one person. These are
I just got
widely
demonetized.
reported questions that are being asked of children. And in this case, young girls who were raped. The very first one, did you like it?
ooh, I think I might have to switch this one back into speed and a half. Sorry, guys.
And I'm already going to jump in here because I don't care what your position is in the world. If a person comes to you and reports that they have been raped, you are not the individual. You are not the person. You should not be the person
Yeah, I agree
assessing,
with him.
well, was this really rape? And then the next question,
I agree with
what did
him.
you do to egg him on? More of that same bullshit of what were you wearing? Were you flirting? Because in this
I'm probably
situation,
gonna
is he
agree with him
really 100%
100%.
the rapist, or do you have some form of responsibility in this too? Speaking of that attitude we were talking about before, the actual question, what were you wearing? How should this ever be relevant in rape? I don't care if she walked down the street naked. She does not
Yeah, I
deserve
agree with
to
his
be raped.
outrage
And
in
when
this.
she reports that she has been raped, this is not the time to go, well, you really shouldn't be walking down the street naked. This is the time for support and help and love. And instead, you are adding to her guilt. You are adding to these feelings of not being good enough and not knowing whether or not you can have your own identity and be yourself. And this is the kind of bullshit that leads to a high youth suicide rate in Utah, specifically geared toward LGBT kids, of course. But I also, as a kid, felt this terrible guilt for these things I was doing that in the moment made me feel good when I masturbated.
I miss Jimmy's compassion like this. Sorry, I have to pause it really quick because it actually was like making me a little bit up in my feels to watch him be so compassionate about this type of thing, that like now he's like compassionate about defending himself. And I feel like just this like level of empathy for others, like that's what he's lost. That's what he's lost. I've been having like difficulty like putting my finger on it like this past month, like what it is that's changed. And I think that it's this empathy. This is what's gone. Okay, back to it.
Masturbated when I did things with my Catholic girlfriend I wasn't supposed to have, that weren't hurting anybody else, that were happening safely. Maybe started happening a little too young, though I don't have any regrets there. But then feeling terrible about myself, about not being good enough, and just having an extreme level of self-loathing that prevented me from having a harmonious relationship with my family, who at the time I thought might be better than me in regards to the assessment that Jesus would give them one day. And I can tell you that as an adult, I've been one of the lucky ones.
Oops, sorry. I just meant to switch it back.
That I don't deal with depression all that much. I certainly get anxiety, I certainly get burnout, but as far as that existential depression and the constant urge to kill yourself, I haven't had that since I found acceptance outside of the church.
I feel like that's something that he's kind of like walked back on it. And I wonder if it hasn't had to do with like who he has decided to associate himself with in all of this. You'll notice that like well, for one thing, like I'm an early to bed, early to rise person. So like I stream at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't stay up late in like other people's live chats and stuff like that. Partially because I'm an early to bed, early to rise person, but also partially because I don't want to end up in the same situation as Jimmy, where it's all about everybody asking me to do this and favors for other people and who owes me what and who do I owe what. And like, that's I think kind of where he got caught up in all of this and kind of like lost his compassion and his passion for what he really started out this channel as, what we can see here.
And I am certain now that all of that self-loathing, all of that desire to kill myself when I was a child came from that guilt and feeling terrible about myself. There was one more question to the rape victims, which was, did you orgasm? Similar along the lines of, did you like it? And still assessing whether or not we're really going to treat this as actual rape. This topic is one we will also cover down the road, because there have been lots of stories of people at BYU, for example, getting honor code violations for being raped. We'll also talk about things we've learned about in the past few years. For example, female missionaries who were raped by their mission president, or in the MTC, the Missionary Training Center, by people there who are meant to be their leadership and who they're learning from. But so often it seems that the core of not just Mormonism, but most religions are very unhealthy attitudes about sex. And frankly, any religion that would
Yeah, it
punish you
sounds
for
like it.
masturbation has a fundamental misunderstanding of just basic human biology
Yeah.
and how beneficial that action is for a person.
Exactly.
And to be
It's like it's healthy. Like there are even asexual people who like masturbate because it's like I've heard it referred to as like clearing the pipes, right? Because it's like literally like a natural like process, right? So yeah, it is kind of ridiculous. I remember hearing something about I can't remember. I think it was the Plath family. And like one of the older kids when they like got married and moved away and like he was talking about like the first time that he ever like masturbated. He was like an adult grown married man and it's just like it's so weird. That's so just like it's seemingly unhealthy to me, but again, I'm not an expert. I don't know.
honest,
Just
I don't
weird
think adding
to
a
me.
second man to that room will improve it. If anything, I think it will
agree.
sort of give validity in a way when they go to the parents and say, I was right there. I made sure everything was above board. It's not like this guy was getting aroused, but it was relevant to the interview.
I mean,
to
it
find out
sounds
whether or not
like
her boyfriend
they were maybe getting
ejaculated
aroused.
in her mouth. This person already likely feels very guilty and terrible for being here and admitting to this thing. And
Yeah, like you're already like on the defensive at that point. It's so creepy.
admitted to the crime of having some sort of sexual intercourse. And what we really needed to know was all the details. This is disgusting. This is wrong. I and countless others who leave the church and become critical hear time and time again how, well, look at all the good the church does. Look at all the good the church does. Well, you know, you certainly would have to do a lot of good when you're also doing this much wrong, when you're doing this much bad, when you are the reason for suicides, when you are the reason for rape.
Now, I don't necessarily think. See, this is again, I feel like kind of a difference in Jimmy and I's opinion on the Mormon Church. Again, my in-laws like met at BYU. So my wife, her family was like she was raised Mormon. All of her friends growing up were Mormon. So I see that in the instance of like my wife's church and stuff, there were instances in which the church, the church kind of like turned a blind eye to stuff. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it was the church that was acting in an evil way. Whereas I think they were just kind of in some ways allowing it to happen. And I feel like part of that just has to do with like the size of the organization. But yeah, that's what we've got for today. For this video anyway. I've got another one that I'm working on either for later today or probably for tomorrow. But tomorrow, the next one anyway, I'm just going to say the next video that I'm working on is actually an even older one than this. I went back into the Jimmy videos from before I was a Jimmy viewer. And there's one actually where he talks about astrology and has like a Kendall Ray video that he is reacting to. So I figured we go back to like ultra meta mode where we're reacting to Jimmy reacting to another video. Also, I have like thoughts and opinions on Kendall Ray. So like that'll be fun to throw it in there. I haven't probably seen the video that he's referring to though, because I have not been a long time viewer of hers. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. All right, guys, I shall see you in the next one. Thank you so much for coming. Today is your birthday. I want to wish you a very happy birthday. Either way, I hope you make it a good one. Thank you so much to all of my supporters, both monetary and just, you know, you guys who are just like supporting me by like being here and like giving me the likes and the comments and the views. I appreciate it. Special thanks to the Cora Sinclair, Savage Momma, TikTok Bunny, and Peapot Fairy. Thank you guys so